Mage Guy is now live, streaming Just Chatting, morning news.
So, it snowed. It is white outside, as a matter of fact. It is so white outside. That even though there's no sun, there's still plenty of light. Greetings, salutations, good morning. Oh. My back was a little extra stiff this morning in the lower regions. That's sore and something I'm dealing with. Breaking. The rest of my back's doing okay. My legs are a little stiff, but not too bad. Part of the lower back pain is gas last night. Another part was how the weather fluxed. And let me tell you, weather flux hurts. Alright, let's get started. We've got one short. Oh.
You know, Florida citizens about 1% of our entire federal budget. And maybe before coming after USAID, the Republicans should look at all the billions and billions of dollars in tax breaks and subsidies that they give to oligarchs like Elon Musk. You want to save some money? Well, let's start there. And hey, while we're at it, hey, Elon, pay your fair share of taxes.
No shit.
What is happening right now across the government is that an unelected billionaire is trying to cut the government so he can give other billionaires a tax break.
Yeah.
And our answer is hell no. You know, foreign assistance is about 1% of our entire federal budget. And maybe before coming after USAID, Republicans should look at all the billions and billions of dollars in tax breaks and subsidies that they give to oligarchs like Elon Musk. You want to save some money? Well, let's start this.
And that was put over by Brian. Yeah, Brian. Brian Taylor Cohen. Okay, so I knew there was no Cohen. And it looks like Rep. Tim McGovern. This gentleman speaking. Anyway, 15, 13, 14, 16, and 16's first.
CDCheese.com. Shop the latest games and upcoming releases at the best price.
Huh? Okay. Oh, Global AF. Okay. That's right. I'm not going to see Global AF yet.
Welcome to a brand new show. Me, Anthony Davis, and him, Michael Popak. We review Global AF, where we take an international look at the effects of the Trump presidency. And Michael, I thought we'd start with, really the big news out of the White House, and that is that Donald Trump is imposing these insane tariffs on Canada and Mexico, new duties that will effectively, and some people are actually saying we should start right up here with the jeopardy. Some people are saying this could crash the global economy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're going to focus on at Global AF is sort of the two sides of the coin, right? We're going to talk about how the global community, country by country, is going to react to Donald Trump and retaliate against Donald Trump. And who is the victim of that? It's going to not because of the global community, because of Donald Trump. It's going to be the American people. Donald Trump, you would think think, after watching the first 12 days, Anthony, that this man has never been the president of the United States before? I mean, honestly, they spent a lot of time and a lot of ink talking about 45 and 47, 45 and 47. Seriously, you would think this guy just wandered in from who knows where, and it's been given one of those movies where the guy that does the law ends up being the president for a week or two.
Chauncey Gardner.
Chauncey Gardner taking over. It is bizarre. And what is
the proof that there are no adults in the room in this presidency, and how much we relied on the adults in the room in the first presidency, where initially he didn't really know what he was doing, so he was taking advice from military generals and people who were career civil servants, but he kind of realized between that presidency and this one that if he gets rid of all those people, there is going to be nobody to tell him no. Well, a narcissist does not like to hear the end.
And the problem in the first 12 days is that I said that normally when you implement
a narcissist does not like to hear the word no. 100%. You tell a narcissist no, 100% of the time, they're gonna not like it. One of the quickest ways to pick out a narcissist. But you need to do it multiple times, not just once.
such far-reaching policy, economic policy, simultaneously, where in the domestic arena, for instance, here in the U.S., same week, same 30-day period, he decided to take the U.S. out of the U.S. economy, not recognizing the role of the U.S. government in funding federal programs, even down to the state level, and how it makes the economy of the United States hum. So he wants to sideline the U.S. from its own economy. At the same time, he runs underground by chasing them through churches and schools, undocumented, who, whether you like it or not, are law-abiding undocumented who do the dirty jobs in America and pay $65 billion a year. They've gone underground, which has reduced the ability in our recovery efforts in all the states that have been hit with natural disasters, and segments like construction and our...
Let me be clear here. Immigrants not only rebuild through construction jobs, but during natural disasters, they're part of the friends and neighbors that are helping you out. Not expecting you to pay them back. Except maybe help them rebuild their place. They are just as much Americans as the rest of us. To look at them as anything else is discrediting them for doing the things we do. That's not okay.
Food, logistics, and supply, all impacted severely by the deportation rates. And then he looked around and said, what haven't I destroyed? Oh, I get it. The foreign side of our economy, let's go after our top two trading partners with a false narrative about a trade deficit being a bad thing, as opposed to the trillions of dollars of debt and tax cuts being the bad thing. And while we're at it, let me do a solid for the Chinese, who are going to get a better tariff tax base than our allies. Wait till we dive in. I want to hear from you what you think, of course, what you think Canada, Mexico, Trudeau and the incoming group, Claudia Sheinbaum, and the rest of them.
To all of our America's allies and trade partners, on behalf of the American people, we're sorry. Even a lot of us who voted for that dickbag, they didn't realize what they were fucking voting for. And now if they do, they feel like shit. And they still need to feel a bit more like shit, because it needs to be gotten through. Yeah, you were being an idiot. But you pulled your head out of your ass. Let's not be an idiot again. Let's work on this together.
world is going to do now that Donald Trump has pulled the trigger on tariffs.
Well, the irony here is that he's chosen two countries that we share a land border with. So you could understand if you wanted to start further away. But he's chosen our two closest trading partners, our two allies, military allies, cultural allies, even as far as, people traveling back and forth. It's not just people seeking asylum that cross the border. Millions of...
Quite literally. Mexico and Canada are such good allies / friends to America that you might as well be family. I mean, fucking for real. Our siblings to the south and our siblings to the north. Everybody talks about how crazy Canada can get. Yeah, why do they not talk about how crazy Mexico can get? The answer is because there's no stories. No matter how much Americans don't see it, we are, as a people, a combination of every other country and people out there. There's the reason why we're called the cultural melting pot. Now places like UK are doing better. China, Japan, they're doing better than we are. Yeah, we took in all the cultural mix, but it ain't melding.
People cross the border every year, both north and south, and he doesn't seem to really think about that side of it either. I think Trudeau took a bit of a pounding, didn't he, when he first went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring.
Yeah.
He kind of went for him, and even though he's on the way out, I think he learned his lesson.
He did.
He's now kind of having to change the story a little bit. He's certainly kind of giving the impression.
I'm going to stop Anthony for a moment and go, he has certainly learned his lesson. He did go down to Mar-a-Lago the first time, kiss the ring and all that. He was a total Trump crony. And during that first term, I heard from Canada about it. And I wasn't too pleased to hear it. I'm glad to see that Canadian people stopped him from being stupid. And he pulled his head out of his ass. Whatever Canada did to Trudeau, we need to be doing to people here. And if it wasn't Canadian people and it was just Trudeau himself, hey Trudeau, got any tips for helping us unbrainwash our citizens? So we could use it.
He's more dangerous on the way out than he was before. Yeah. Maybe we can just go back for a second, because you and I were chatting just before we started the show, and I want to make the point that none of this stuff, even any of these executive orders, any of this stuff, is necessary. This is all performative. This is all for Trump to look like a strongman. It has no effect on the U.S. economy or this fight with these countries. It's not, if he didn't bother, if he'd have just left it and said, you guys, I'm good with you guys, then we would have prospered and continued to prosper. This is all for one man to feel like he's doing something, because he's not an economist. He doesn't understand about international trade.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand about the global community.
Not at all.
So,
how to change the way you pizza. Step 1, grab a delicious Papa Murphy's pizza.
Step 2, skip the ad.
Not an economist. He doesn't understand about international trade. He doesn't understand about the global community. So he just chooses to pick fights with people like he's a kind of mafia boss. And that is him asserting, he's flexing his muscles, he's asserting his authority, and in the process, he's going to crash the U.S. economy, and as we know, America sneezes, the world catches a cold.
Yeah, but this is the playbook from Donald Trump. Create a false narrative of something that's not really going on, to create a ridiculous policy to crush a non-existent problem, whether it's a critical race theory being taught to kindergartners when it's a college level or law school level class,
Or DEI in the
or DEI causing 70 victims to be floating in the Potomac when it had more to do with budget cuts and the failure to have proper staffing that night, watching helicopters and airplanes in the airspace. And here's the other false narrative, which is we have a Canadian trade deficit problem, or that we're subsidizing Canada by the tune of $200 billion.
Yeah, we're not
I'll give you an
subsidizing
example
Canada.
just to show what I'm talking about. Then we'll turn to Canada next. It would be as if Donald Trump woke up tomorrow and said, I am going to put an end to Peruvians infiltrating Major League Baseball. There are Peruvians that are infiltrating Major League Baseball. I will be passing an executive order tomorrow to address this. Yeah, there are no Peruvians that are infiltrating Major League Baseball, but it does give them an excuse to issue an executive order. That there is no real trade deficit between Canada and the U.S. There's a $1 trillion trade relationship, and there is an infinitesimal,
You got
in the grand
some stats out
scheme of
there, though.
things, current deficit of about $48 billion, which is $1 trillion in trade. It's almost nothing. It's almost a rounding error. And it's only because the things that Canada sells in our economy in the U.S. are the things that we need in order to have a GDP. It's used by our manufacturing sector to make our products. That's how fundamental the Canadian supply chain is to the United States.
Seriously.
Whether you call it energy, power, minerals, elements, it goes into what we build to export. So that's the last place. Our number one trading partner for electricity on the way in. Donald Trump instead told the American people at Davos in Switzerland during the economic conference and recently that we don't need Canada's trees. We have our own tree. This isn't about trees.
Well, but that's what he's got to go on. You know, it's just, he watched
He
a
did so-
documentary like he did on the Panama Canal.
He thinks that all we get from Canada is maple syrup. Don't get me wrong. Canadians make the best maple syrup. But it's not all we get from them. I mean, hell, if it wasn't for Canadians, we wouldn't have American cheese. All you Kraft Singles lovers? Yeah, thank you, Canadian. For real.
And then he takes a whole position. Let me quote him, though, because on Thursday he said, we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is that the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much, okay, let's not get into the grammar of that. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that has come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we are giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits, right?
Fentanyl, there were 55 interactions between the Border Patrol and people drug smuggling out of Canada, compared to about 5,000 down in Mexico.
So the point that I'm making here, by quoting him, is to say that this is basically built on a lie. The whole thing is built on a lie. And I don't people and the international community to think that this is based in fact. It is just his fantasy. This whole thing is his fantasy.
Look, he's not the first president to use a lie to start something.
No.
we had a phony torpedoing of a ship that led to a war. So I mean, it's happened before.
But there's also weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, in order to go and level the wrong country. But here, we are able to hear an independent media with analysis in real time. Fact check him. That's the problem. That's why we want people, of course, here on Global Contributors on Legal AF said recently that I loved. We have to speak truth to each other before we can speak truth to power. And that's what I hope people will come here for. But before we move to Mexico, which is totally going to crater our auto manufacturing capacity, because many of the parts are manufactured in Canada, cars are assembled in Canada. Who has why China got hit 10% tariff, 25%.
let's stop and touch on that for a second. China, not one of our allies, technically one of our enemies. Which used to be, and still kind of acts that way. He's only getting taxed 15%. Tariff-wise. Well, getting taxed. We're getting taxed for it. Let's be clear. As to where Mexico and Canada are getting a 25% tax added on top. Kidding from it. I'm on over the one. Norman, the belching just now because I had a nice gas bubble that was making me nauseous. I thought it might not go so well. I got some of it out. Still a little nauseous, but better. I don't feel like I can blow chunks. Yeah, most of the gas was sleep stream. But I don't know how well it went because I was testing running with the noise canceling. I'm doing that now too. I'm running noise canceling.
YouTube, Alexander Marquis. Oh no. Old Mage Guy is now live. Streaming Just Chatting. Morning News.
Just disconnect.
Alexander Marquis. Lol.
You need to mind your claws, young lady. Did I just get disconnected? Is that why it said it again? Yep. Crap. Alright. Looks like I might have to restart my router. This sucks. Yeah, I woke up this morning to a bunch of white shit.
YouTube, Alexander Marquis. Oh, there was gas in the sleep stream.
Yes. I woke up several times to release gas. Alright, let's get these back on so it's not too cold in here. With it being white outside, we gotta make sure we keep the heat on. Not let it go too long. About a quarter of an inch left out there. It's all melting off. So you got the sun coming out finally. Yeah. I'm gonna have to stop